400 feet down a ravine. A masked helicopter saved the two by dropping a cable and lifting them out. These pictures from Chopper 7 showed the dramatic rescue near Shelton. If you can look very closely, you can see the helicopter dropping one of the teenagers off on the steel bridge near a lumber camp. Rescuers are embracing that person who was rescued, taking him to an aid car. Mason County Sheriff's deputies say 19-year-old Austin Doctor and 18-year-old Stephen Jones were throwing toy airplanes off the bridge this afternoon. One of the teenagers dropped the bag the toy planes were in, and when they went to retrieve it, Jones slipped and fell to the bottom of the ravine. Doctor followed. Chopper 7 pilot Clark Stahl notes it was a tricky maneuver for the masked helicopter to fly under the bridge to rescue the teenagers. Tonight, Jones has been transferred to Harborview with a fractured skull. Doctor is recovering at Mason County General Hospital with a broken leg.
The death toll is rising tonight after the Super Bowl of European soccer turned to violence and tragedy in Brussels. At least 40 people were killed, 260 others injured. Derek Blakely reports this evening the riot began when British fans surged into their opponent's section.
More than 50,000 fans were on hand in Brussels to watch Liverpool and Juventus of Italy square off for the European Soccer Championship. But less than an hour before the scheduled kickoff, the soccer ground became a killing ground. It began with a drunken stampede by Liverpool fans. They charged into a section of the stands reserved for the Italians, breaking down the barriers separating the two sides. As fistfights erupted, hundreds poured onto the field to escape the violence. But dozens of frightened Juventus fans were pinned against a concrete wall, trampled or crushed in the senseless scramble. Even as the injured were led away, sporadic clashes between police and spectators continued. Neither the authorities nor most of the fans immediately realized the scale of the disaster. It took 20 minutes for the riot squad to arrive and 20 minutes more for the ambulances to show up. By then, the extent of the carnage was clear. A mass of bodies piled up in what resembled a war zone. British officials were reluctant to directly blame Liverpool fans for the violence.
But undoubtedly what has happened this evening, as the Prime Minister has said when I spoke to her earlier this evening, undoubtedly a mood of shame will now develop upon European football.
But British sportscasters covering the match said the shame belonged to Liverpool.
Such a popular sport. It's also such a popular media for publicity, and they know that this is the way they're going to get it. It's just we're dealing with animals and people with very small minds.
After the tragedy, players on both sides said they'd prefer to cancel the game, but authorities feared that would only trigger more violence. Juventus went on to score a 1-0 victory, but the loss English football suffered in the stands loomed much larger than its defeat on the field. Derek Blakely, CBS News, London.
Scientists still haven't figured out exactly what's happening with Mount St Helens. The mountain keeps rumbling and the dome keeps swelling. Two sure signs that an eruption of some sort is about to happen, or so they say. Nita Williamson has tonight's report.
These are some of the most watched instruments around these days, the seismographs at the University of Washington Seismology Lab. The scratchy lines say something is going to happen. What they can't predict is when. This round-the-clock monitoring has been given a name, as the drum turns. This waiting game may be frustrating to the people who have been waiting more than a week for an explosion that was supposed to happen at any time. But it's even more frustrating for the scientists who are monitoring the mountain. Rick Benson has all-night duty watch tonight, and he says there's still increased activity at the mountain, but...
Yeah, we are still waiting for an eruption. We've expanded our eruption window. We started out on Saturday saying 48 hours, and you may think that we let you down not having an eruption.
Benson says the eruption predictions are based on what they know about past eruptions. This pattern is different, making predictions less accurate. Benson says they don't want the public to feel they're crying wolf when they issue this kind of eruption alert.
You're stuck. You don't want to tell everybody, hey, go in and take a look around the crater, and then something happened. At the same time, yeah, you don't want to say, well, gee, the pattern's definitely different, and maybe we're not going to see anything. It's a tough one to call this time. It really is.
They started up an eruption pool among the workers here. The one who picks the correct date gets the $64 jackpot. But whatever happens, the hope here is that it'll happen soon. In Seattle tonight, Anita Williamson, KIRO Eyewitness News.
And among the stories still to come on our news update tonight, there's a new national hero in Canada. He ends his coast-to-coast walk with 1 foot in the Pacific and about $7 million in the bank to fight cancer.
And if you ever find yourself late getting to the airport, you can make that last dash to the gate without worrying about your car. Tell you about that when we come back.